I've explained the difference between a scam and a con before. And it's very simple. In a scam, the scam artist just wants a resource you have. Most of the time, money. In a con, the con artist wants power over you. Because it's the power over you that's necessary to completely drain you. So, a scam is impersonal. Even though it may feel like personal after you're scammed. Let me give an example. Let's say someone comes to you and tells you that some earthquake happened, let's say somewhere in Ireland, and that many people are homeless now, and that they really need help because there are children who are homeless, there are pregnant women also, there are also babies that are in the pools. And she what? This was quite emotional. You become emotionally triggered, and she said, you know what? I have a job, I get enough money at the end of the month, here's 10 euros, here's 20 euros, and a lot of people do that. What happened? You just gave away of something you have. And that is what a scam is. You are tricked into giving in the expectation that what you give will serve you or someone else in the long term, but it doesn't. The individual just wanted your money to spend on whatever other type of nonsense they want to spend it upon. So that's a scam. You are involved in their spending, which is self-destructive, without you being aware of it. They need you to finance their self-destructive spending. So they tricked you into sponsoring them financially. That's a scam. It's not personal, it's just they wanted money and you had money, so they did their best to get it out of you. A con is personal. A con is directly targeted at you because someone wants to be God. Someone wants to have power over someone, and because they see you as a potential victim, that where they can succeed, they invest in baiting you. For a con to work, you must be in agreement with the hoax. So, for example, let's say you have this guy. I'm using a female example now. You have this guy, you meet him, and he doesn't come with flatteries and comments. He doesn't buy you drinks. He's just a bit critical of you in a constructive way, and you appreciate it because a lot of guys you expect just want to have sex with you. But this guy, you feel he's different. At least that's the impression you get. And because you feel comfortable, you open up yourself more. And then he begins to state things that you agree with. Let's say you are from a conservative background, and he begins to state things as there shouldn't be any welfare because people just have to work for their own money, and it corresponds with what you have been conditioned into, so you tend to agree. So not only do you feel comfortable with him paying attention to you as an individual instead of to your body parts, you also feel validated now because you have things in common. And before you know it, you're so comfortable that when he makes his sexual aggressive move, you don't even notice it. He has sex with you multiple times, and afterwards he's gone. And you're left behind, heartbroken, and in some cases even pregnant with his child. Now, in this case, you've been conned. It wasn't just money or resource you had that he wanted. He wanted power over you. And in order to get this power over you, you had to lower your guards down. He could have forced himself on you in a form of rape, but then it would have been quite difficult and the backlash would be instant. Because he conned you, he had this way easily, and because it was you that opened up yourself to him sexually, you can never say he raped me. So he got away with having power over you, and now that it becomes too difficult for him, it's just gone, and there's not much you can do about it. Because if you go to the local courts, they will tell you, but man, you're the one that texted him, you're the one that went to his house, you're the one that spent time over there, even after sex, so you have all this against you now. In a con, The con artist, that means the con man or the con woman, they want power over you. So they study you to mirror you, to get you to agree with them. And this is something I want you to pay attention to. If you, for example, I'm using a parable, if you are known to be an advocate for the safety of children, and someone begins to talk to you about the abusive parenting styles that are in the community, they're hinting to you agreeing with them. The reason they're doing it is because they know that you are an advocate for the safety of children. Now, if that's the only thing they want, is to be sure that you are on the same page as them, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If they have no bad intentions or ulterior motives, that's fine. If they are seeking agreement with you. But a con artist also wants an agreement with you, but for a very different reason. A con artist wants you to agree with them on basic things, so they will use those basic things later against you to trick you into handing over your discernment to them. How do you hand over your discernment to someone else? When you stop using your intuition. Somewhere down the line, during the con, you were failed using your intuition. You were so into what was being promised to you that you lost track of your inner radar. That's what all cons are about. All cons are about you handing over your discernment to a group or to someone else. In that state of mind, anyone can do any harm to you because you don't sense when there's danger anymore. You're so reliant on what you're being told. And when you look at this way, you can now see clearly that society is a big con. Society uses your basic human needs for water, food, clothes, physical rest, and emotional involvement with other people, that is social interaction. Society uses those basic needs of yours to trick you into agreeing, handing over your discernment to them. As a child, it happened so easily you don't even notice it happened. As a child, you don't know everything, so it's natural that as a child you want adults to steer you and to guide you. Now, once you are a teenager, you now want to have a leverage for yourself also. But because you're still quite inexperienced, you want guides who will also guide you in adulthood. Every human being wants this. This whole idea, my life, my body, my this and that is all BS. All human beings want some type of guide. That's in our human nature. It's how God designed us. Because He is to be that guides to us, both on an individual as on a collective level. And con women and con men, they know this about their natural design. So, when society offers you social inclusion, because con men and con women, they know that the thirst for social inclusion is far more powerful than your urge for food and water, even though food and water are basic physical necessities. Your urge for social inclusion is so big that if you don't have enough or sufficient social interaction, you will lose your mind. Human beings lose their minds and eventually lose their physical health if they are not socially included. That's why rejection hurts so much. So because you want social inclusion, you want to be at harmony with others, so you tend to give in to what others want. So, and society begins with basic things. Okay, you need water, you need food, you need clothes, so you need to get along with other people to exchange goods and services with them. So, don't be harsh towards other people. Be considerate. You think, of course, I want to get along, so of course I'm going to be considerate. Then society tells you, in order to regulate goods, we need a system to regulate them, so we have this thing called money. You think, okay, indeed, it's practical to have this thing called money, because if someone has a lot of fish and someone else has a lot of cheese, what if the one with a lot of cheese can't preserve the fish? What does the fisherman have to do? Well, if there's a thing called money, he can have some benefit for the fish he catched. So you understand that money is a practical thing. And they tell you that people want to be recognized, so you're told you need to be respectful, you need to give validation. And then you're told when someone is older, they want validation for being older. So you think, okay, I'll do it. Because if you don't do it, there's a punishment, and you don't want the punishment, you don't want to be socially excluded, nor physically nor mentally harmed, so you give in. And then so it goes on and on and on. And little by little, you begin to agree with things that go against your natural design. Then they tell you, this thing called money is not for free, even though it's just printed paper, you need to work for it, you need to hand over your life source. By either getting a job, and often, and for those jobs, you're dependent on who provides the job. So you don't have much choice. You only have choice from what's offered to you. And then you think, okay, I need that piece of paper that costs money. So okay, I'm willing to do that. And then they subject you to all types of demands to get the job. You need to have a degree. You need to go to school, and you need to dress a certain way. You need to talk a certain way. You should have the right type of friends so that the company doesn't suffer damage. So little by little, you hand over all your discernment. Little by little, you don't realize that you're being enslaved. And that's how society operates. Society is a con. And here's the thing. When the day comes and society expects something from you that literally and only goes against your health and your well-being, then you're shocked. You think, what? And then you have mental pain because you've invested so much in society, and because you got crumbs of this thing called social inclusion, you're addicted to their approval. You've become an addict without being aware of it. So now you also need to face this about yourself. And this addiction, this psychic addiction you've developed, they now use to blackmail you, and they also use this to accuse you. Calling you your codependent, or they will blame you for being exploited, saying, well, the reason the narcissist exploited you was because you had no boundaries, or they begin to accuse you. Now you feel worse, and now you want a solution for their accusations also. Just like a malignant narcissist, society will blame you for tricking you. Society is a con. And remember, a con is personal. You need to invest in it. It's personal both on your part, because you invest in it, and it's personal on the part of the perpetrator, because the perpetrator wants power over you. They want to be God over you. If it was just a scam, they just want your money or a little bit of attention. But because it's power over you that they crave, at your expense, it's a con. And on the long term, they can only retain this power with your consent. But as long as you're not aware that is by your consent, their power over you is secured. The moment you realize that, hold on a minute, I agreed to social inclusion. I did not agree to become this psychic addict with no options in life. But here's the thing, because you agreed to the basis of the con, that means the facts without the context. That's why I always tell you, a fact without a context is a trick. Because you fell for the trick, eventually they got a hold on you and you got along. And why? Because you pervaded using your own discernment. You handed over your discernment to them. And once you do this, it's very hard to realize that you've become defective. Anytime you hand over your discernment to someone else or something else, you become defective over time. That's why in the world, they work with oaths and swearing. And God wants you to use your full discernment at all times. That's why Christ said, don't swear and don't make any oaths. Yet, when it comes to the wedlock, they may have marriage vows. But that goes against what Christ said. Christ said, don't invest in oaths nor swearing. Why? Because when you do that, you become effective over time because you're not able to discern well anymore. In any type of oath or swearing, you pledge your allegiance to some other power or to some other individual. And they become the center of your existence. And by them becoming the center of your existence, your mind is completely on them and your mind is off of your own natural senses. And now that other thing that you've pledged allegiance to has power over you. That's how it goes. So that is why people that work long-term for organizations where they were required to hand over the discernment, they become like robots. They're not able to think clearly anymore. They end up following orders that are inhumane and that violates both their own well-being and well-being of the community. And later people would ask, why did you do that? Why did you just say no? They can't even answer why. And that is why society is a big con. The moment you agree, or let me say the moment you fall for the trick, let me explain what a trick is. A trick is when someone gives you facts without the proper context. And once you agree with those facts, without asking for the context, you've been tricked. For example, someone can tell you stuff as women should be considerate of society, or they should be considerate of the community. And you would say, yes, of course, they're part of the community. Duh. And this one tells you, well, women should be considered the community. That's right. So they have to show the loyalty that they care about the community. They even think, okay, that's true also. And then someone tells you that's why women should only get sexually involved with men that conform to what society wants. And then you can feel uncomfortable thinking, what? So you have three statements. The first two are factual. The third one hints towards oppression. So if you mention those three after one another, with the third statement, people become uncomfortable. But what if you only mention the first two? And you just hint towards the oppression that you want someone in. In that case, most people will fall for it. The trick is effective when you just mention the facts without the context. Because if someone would say to you, women should be considerate of the community, then what you should ask is, considerate in what sense? Considerate about what? When you ask for the context, now the trick is less likely to work. Because the trick works when you agree with facts without a context. For example, someone may say nobody is responsible for someone else's actions. And you feel relieved thinking, yes, of course, you agree with it. But then one day, you are put in a position where you have almost no options left. And every option you do have is going to work out bad for you. So whatever option you take will be bad. But you did not end up in the position by yourself. You were put in that position. But because you agreed earlier that nobody is responsible for someone else's action, now that you're in that position, that whatever step you take is going to be bad to you, others can avoid their responsibility towards you by saying, I'm not responsible for your actions. So, the whole time, people wanted to fulfill their responsibilities towards you as a community. And they managed to do this by getting you to agree with what they want to do, namely exploiting you and not being responsible towards you. So when someone wants to get an agreement with you, ask yourself why. And if they come with facts, ask for the context of those facts. Most people don't ask for the context, especially if the facts are something they really wanted or needed to hear. And that's what society does. That's what false teachers do. That's what those Babylon churches do. So, don't be conned. Look at the bigger picture. Be at peace.